I've always been the golden child, the one everyone admires or at least pretends to. My family, they adore me, not for who I am but because of what I represent. My sister loves me, but she loves the version of me that fits their perfect mold. I know better. No one truly loves me. They love the image I've been forced to create. I walk through the halls of my college, surrounded by the fake smiles of friends who only stick around because I can offer them something. Money, connections. I have everything they want, but nothing I need. I'm alone, and I've always been alone. Sure, I flirt with girls at parties, act charming, but it's just a game. Inside, I'm suffocating. I hate the way people look at me, and I hate the way I look at myself. The secret I'm hiding is too much to bear. I'm gay, but in my family's world, that's the one thing I can never be. My friends constantly ask for favors, and I give in. What else can I do? They mock people, pretend to care, but I know the truth. No one really cares, and I don't care either. Then there's Mike. Mike, the tall, broad-shouldered jock. I'd always seen him around, but we never really crossed paths. Until that day. It was over a stupid parking spot. I walked outside already irritated from a long day of fake smiles and empty conversations. There it was. Mike's car in my spot. "You parked in my spot," I snapped, my voice sharp. He didn't even look at me. "I don't see your name on it," Mike replied casually, his tone annoyingly calm. I couldn't stand it. He wasn't even fazed. My chest tightened. I wasn't used to being ignored. I wasn't used to being disrespected. "This is my campus. My rules," I said, my voice dripping with arrogance. Mike didn't budge. "Maybe it's time someone taught you a lesson," he said, completely unfazed. That was it. I decided right then that I would make him regret it. I didn't care about the parking spot, it was about control. So that night I broke into his locker, destroyed his notes, and slashed his tires. Watching it all unfold gave me a twisted sense of satisfaction. But then, something weird happened. Mike didn't care, he didn't react, he just fixed everything, calmly. And that bothered me. Later I started observing him and found how helpful he was to others. He had a close-knitted group, his smile could lit up a room. After the new semester started, I discovered he was in my math classes. I was shocked. During the class my whole attention was on him. I kept sneaking glances, which was honestly like a second nature to me at this point. A few times I saw him looking toward me and our eyes locking. Next day I found sandwiches on my desk along with a note, "Don't skip your meals." I was shocked because no one knew I used to skip meals. No one cared enough. I looked around and saw a handsome face looking towards me with a serious look which turned into bright smile after I bit into the sandwich. From that day on it became our daily routine. He would bring me different kinds of food with notes and I would reply to him with sarcasm through notes. He would just chuckle at my notes, which made my day. It felt nice to have someone notice stuff about you no one ever did. Someone who liked the real you. This went for a while and we started sharing a lot of stuff with each other. It felt like he was the closest person who ever came near the real me. This came to an end one day, when one of my so-called friends ruined a necklace Mike had worn. A necklace from his late mother just because he became insecure about my friendship to Mike. Insecure that his human wallet would be snatched away. He even left a note on his desk just like I used to, admitting the deed. The moment I heard about it, I felt something strange stir in me. Mike's anger was immediate. "That necklace meant everything to me," Mike hissed as he grabbed me by the collar. "I didn't do it," I pleaded, my heart racing. But Mike wasn't listening. "I was wrong about you," he muttered, storming off. I stood there, guilt eating away at me. He didn't know I didn't do it, but it didn't matter. The look in his eyes was enough to make me feel like the worst person alive. It didn't end there. I confronted the friend who'd ruined Mike's necklace, demanding answers. "Do you know what you've done?" I asked, anger boiling inside me. But as I stood there, I realized something. I didn't just feel guilty about what had happened, I was starting to like Mike. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had someone who saw through my mask. And I hated myself for it.
I've never cared much for popularity or the fake drama that comes with it. I've always kept to my small circle, friends who actually care. But Josh intrigued me from the first moment I saw him. At family events, I'd watch him put on these fake smiles. I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't happy, not truly. I wasn't sure what it was about him, but I knew there was more beneath the surface. When I saw him get upset over something trivial like a parking spot, I couldn't help but smirk. He was so used to getting his way. But I wanted to see if he could handle it. So I parked in his spot. When he stormed up to me, I stood my ground. "You parked in my spot," he spat. "I don't see your name on it," I replied, trying to keep my cool. He didn't back down, and that's when I knew. I wanted to know more about this stubborn brat. There was something else to him, something real. "Maybe it's time someone taught you a lesson," he said, his voice laced with anger. But I didn't react. I didn't want to escalate things. I just liked his attention on me. All those pranks done by him I did not mind. Instead, I just let him go on with his little temper tantrum. When new semester started, I deliberately opted for same class as him. I wanted to know him more. I wanted to understand the meaning behind those sneaky glances. And I was correct to do so, as I quickly realized he was used to skipping meals. No doubt he never gained weight. I started getting him food and sending him notes. His replies were the cutest comments. It wasn't until later when I started noticing the cracks in his life. I saw how his friends treated him, like he was just a means to an end. They used him for his family's wealth, and Josh, like an idiot, kept giving. He didn't know any other way. I wanted to protect him so bad. I wanted him to realize his own worth. But then there was that necklace. I'd worn it for years. My mother's necklace. It meant everything to me. When I found out one of Josh's friends had ruined it, I snapped. I grabbed Josh by the collar. "That necklace meant everything to me," I hissed. But when I saw his face, his wide eyes, the pleading in them, I realized I was wrong. "I was wrong about you," I muttered, but I regretted it immediately. I stormed off, but my mind kept replaying that moment. Josh wasn't just a spoiled kid, he was lonely and suffering. He was finally opening up to someone, which was me. He didn't deserve my anger. A few days later, I saw Josh on the soccer field. I kept looking his way. I wanted to talk to him. He had missed all his classes with me, and I was desperate to correct my mistake. As I was looking at him, I saw him trip, falling into another guy. I was about to go help them, but when I noticed the other guy's hand slide a little too low, that was it. I jumped up, pushing my way through the crowd, and pulled the man away from Josh. I pulled Josh up, making sure he was behind me. "Back off," I growled at the other guy, my voice low and firm. Josh stood there stunned. His eyes met mine, and I could feel the heat between us. Something had shifted. He slowly tugged my shirt, and we left the field together towards the infirmary. I got him treated, and the first thing he said to me was sorry. I felt a pang of guilt as I knew it wasn't his mistake. I held his hands and apologized for my rude behavior over and over again. We cleared our misunderstanding. We ended up walking away together, talking. It was easy, natural, and for the first time in a long time, I felt complete. We hung out more. I found myself drawn to Josh in ways I didn't expect. His lashes, the way his lips curled when he smiled, the way he looked at me when no one else was watching. It was like something clicked. I liked him more than I wanted to admit. One night we were sitting on a bench, laughing at something stupid I said, and before I knew it, Josh leaned in. His lips brushed against mine, soft and tentative at first. I kissed him back, a slow, deep kiss. It was like everything I'd been hiding for so long, everything I'd been too scared to admit, was finally laid bare. From that moment on, we were different. We didn't care about what anyone else thought. Josh wasn't just the spoiled, lonely kid anymore. He was the guy who I'd come to care about deeply, and he was mine. And me? I wasn't just the quiet jock anymore. I was the guy who was in love with the one person who understood me.